Madam Speaker, thank you so very much. And I also want to thank my very good friend from the great state of Georgia, Mr. Woodall. As he mentioned, we both sit on the Rules Committee. And so today I rise in support of HRES 540. The issue we're talking about is not whether or not the American people can trust us. Today, Congress has a job approval rating of what? 10, 11, 12%. American people are pretty sick of us, and I don't blame them. Ms. Slaughter has been working on the Stock Act bill for over 6 years, and commendable. It's unfortunate that it never came to the Democratic Congress when they had control. That's very unfortunate that she was never able to move it forward. But if anything, I'm amazed, though, as we move forward here, that 13% of folks actually approve of the work we're doing here. I can't believe there's even 1%. It was only about a year ago that I was one of those people that was disappointed in this body. But my parents always taught me that if you're not part of the solution, then you're part of the problem. So sure enough, I ran for Congress, and the people of Florida's 5th Congressional District, and they put their trust in me to get here and to represent them. One thing I promised folks back home is that I was never going to use my service in the House of Representatives to enrich myself, and that's why I turned down the Congressional health benefits. That's why I introduced my bill, H.R. 981, Congress is not a career act, so that I could turn down the congressional pension that I'm legally required to take. That's why I think that trading of any kind on insider knowledge received through the virtue of working in this office is flat out, downright wrong. And anybody who uses their office to get rich in the game of markets should go to jail. It's that simple. Madam Speaker, I put people in jail for doing things that were illegal. Madam Speaker, sometimes I wonder if folks right here in this very chamber forget about what we're talking about. We're talking about the United States Congress. We're talking about an institution that makes up the first branch of government. We're talking about the people's branch. We're talking about an institution where men like Madison, Monroe, John Quincy Adams, JFK, and George H.W. Bush all served at one point or another here in their careers. This is an institution that ought to be held to the highest standards, an institution that I at least expect more from. And we're failing. We're failing our constituents, we're failing ourselves, and we're just outright failing. What we need to do now is to take deliberate steps towards making things better. We need to prove to the American people that we hear them and that they're right and that we're going to do better. One major step in the right direction would be showing our commitment to ethics reform and ensuring that we aren't using Congress as a way to line our own pockets. As the Tampa Bay Times wrote in an editorial just this morning, the United States Congress finally has to address the exploitation of public office for individual financial gain. House Res 540 lets us bring that discussion to the floor of the House of Representatives where it belongs. I've gotten up here, Madam Speaker, and spent a lot of time talking about honesty, doing better. So here's my opportunity to be honest with everyone here and everybody watching us at home. If it were up to me, we wouldn't be voting on this bill that we'll be voting on tomorrow. As I see it, the Stock Act we'll be voting on tomorrow has some problems. Transparency and openness mean that we'll be able to look at all these problems and really think about the benefits if they outweigh the costs. And it means that we'll be able to have a full and knowledgeable discussion about the Stock Act on the floor of this House tomorrow. But I've got to tell you, the process that got us to where we are today and where we're going tomorrow is just wrong. 38 pages isn't a long bill in congressional speak, but it's 38 pages that never went through the normal legislative process. It's 38 pages that didn't get an opportunity to amend, and since I'm being honest, there are better alternatives out there than the Stock Act, than what we're going to be voting on tomorrow. One of those options is my bill, H.R. 3639, the Prevent Insider Trading by Elected Officials Act. Madam Speaker, my bill's only 1.5 pages long. 1.5 pages. It's quick, it's easy, and to the point, and all elected officials, both in the legislative branch and the executive branch, are required to put their stocks, bonds, securities, whatever you have, into a blind trust. It's just that simple. If you don't know what you have, you can't trade on it based on insider knowledge. That's what a blind trust is all about. 1.5 pages. No room for loopholes. Legislation up here is written by attorneys that sometimes only attorneys can understand. And there's loopholes in all of this. If I had my way, the discussion we'd be having on the floor tomorrow wouldn't be about honest services provisions, IPO sales, registering searchable mortgages and disclosures and whatnot online. But that's not my call. So we're here today, and at least we've gotten this far. I wish we were doing more. This is the United States Congress we're talking about. When I was growing up, it was supposed to mean something, and I'm hoping it still does. I'm afraid, and if it does, then we need to be holding ourselves to the highest of standards. The American people ought to know that they can have faith in the people who are serving them here in Washington. So do I think this is the very best step? No, I don't. Do I think it's better than the bill the United States Senate sent to us through that rushed process? A bill that has conflicting provisions and its core doesn't, in fact, address the problem that the American people want fixed. No doubt about it. I wish the Senate hadn't rushed the Stock Act. I suspect Harry Reid just really needed a shiny object he could wave and point to, hoping he could distract the American people long enough to forget that it's been over 1,000 days since the United States Senate passed a budget, and he's already promised that they won't even have one for this next year. If not for the rush, then we probably wouldn't be forced into acting at such breakneck speed. But do I think the discussion we must have, that we have to have? Absolutely. And that's why I'm going to support this rule. I'm being honest. I wish we did it differently. But we're here to work the will of the people, and that's the most important thing right now. Again, I want to thank you, Madam Speaker, and I want to thank my friend, Mr. Woodall, for the time. And with that, I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Colorado.
I have to